Alright, this is another video in the NCDOT Traffic Engineering Suite TransModeler Output Measures of Effectiveness. This is going to be for a multi-hour simulation, basically a 4-hour peak period in the AM, 4-hour in the PM. So the first step is going to be to work in two places. First, we have to go in and we're going to need to actually modify this, the MOE add-in, and I'm going to need to go and grab the original file that was there. Alright, let me pause. Okay, you're going to need this NC TransModeler helper macros. In the previous one, under my documents, caliper, TransModeler 5, I created that NCDOT MOE in video 1. So we have this macro here. You can open that up in Notepad, and there's a few different things. So that tells you that what first does, second one. These are all things that we discussed in the video 1. So here are the settings, and what you're going to need to do is actually go in here and define what your settings are. So you can see that we have this set up to run from 17 to 18 for output settings, 17 to 18 and 8 to 9 in 60-minute intervals. What we want to do actually is do this, change this to the 15 to 19 and 6 through 10. And I believe that's the only change. Okay, that's the only change that needs to be made there. So the other thing we will need to do is update the add-ins.txt file. This is the one we created last time. Actually, it probably will be okay. We will actually, what we'll do is but once we finish this, we actually copy it into the on your C drive, program files, TransModeler 5, and in here we have this add-ins.txt. I'll make a copy of this line, put it at the bottom, and what we're going to call this is actually NC Helper 4. So because it's a 4-hour, and it's going to run second one, simulate outputs. So if I save this, since it has administrator privileges, that may not work. I may have to do the same thing, change it here, and then change that to see helper 4. I can call this simulate and produce outputs for our peak. We'll call it that. Let me save that. Now we'll try and copy and paste that. Okay, so I've now updated that. And I believe I'm going to have to get out of this and come back in. Let me do that. Set it up. Okay, so I'm going to set up, actually before I do that, I'm going to need to go into GISDK toolbar. I'm going to need to compile that new user interface. So go into my document, Caliper 5.0. So I've modified that to run for the 4 hours. So I'll open that. It's going to want to know where I want to put it. So I'm going to put it here. I'm going to call this NC Helper 4. So what that should have done is it created an NC Helper 4.dbd file. Once I'm done with that, I can go back into Tools, set up add-ins. I can add one, and if I go back to that add-ins text file, I'm calling it simulate and produce outputs 4-hour peak. I believe still second one. User database is NC Helper 4. All right, we'll hit OK. All right, so if we have a model, go find that model. So you'll need to do the same model setup as you did for everything else. So I can do that as well. I believe in the last one we had a question about whether we could name the nodes or not. I'm not sure if we include this or not, if it will fill that name field in to the we'll just see if in the travel time savings 440 west of Lake Boone Trail. Just add this one as well. It's I-440 east of Six Forks Road. So this one, I'm not going to go into all the details. See video 2 for labeling everything and coming up with your sort order and things like that. I believe this has already been set up. To run the output. So you can see it already has the major road, minor road, and sort order set. So everything is set up as far as the node layers and things like that. So the next step is to go in and actually run that. So we can go into our add-ins and we will try to simulate and produce output. See if that works. Okay, this is it's a 4-hour AM, 4-hour PM, right, 4.5 hour. There's a half-hour warm-up. So this is going to take some time to develop these, but I will pause the video here and we'll come back once it's been run and all the output's been generated. All right, the model is still running. It's a very large model, and it's a future year no build for highly congested networks, so it's certainly taking longer than I expected. So it's generated at least a little bit of the output, so I can go into this batch and we can at least look at the intersection level of service. Let's go ahead and open that. I also have the intersection MOE 4-hour. This is the large sheet, so I can go into and this is the same process as with the 1 hour, so just follow the same idea as the 1 hour, and we can go ahead and select all of these. Again, select a little bit extra, and then you paste the link. And let's see. So you should be able to see the overall intersections there. There's, I guess, 25 of them. So if we go back into our delay and level of service sheet, you can see it's started to populate that. It has a 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. And the same thing would be here for the PM when you get it done. So that's the same general process. You would just, once it generates all of those reports, you would go in and link them as you did in the 1 hour, and it just produces the 4 hours in the AM and then the 4 hours in the PM. And this is the volume in the queue. This one actually provides the volume. So just to show an example of it, we have here's the actual completed sheet for that model. I think running all of these at the same time is certainly slow my computer down. I'm going to pause until it comes up. Okay, so it's come up now. So you can see by lane group, it also includes the volumes and then maximum queue length. With this, we don't do the individual queue lengths for each movement. We just do the approach. Here's the delay and level of service table. You can see the unsignalized, and then all of the signalized. So that is the conclusion of the intersection MOEs. And again, I'm going to pause while this, actually, let me see if I can do that. All right, let me close this, and then and so that file was 65 megabytes. So as you get those large ones with a lot of linked data, you'll see the effect they have on size and on computing, because there's a lot of linked data and things like that. So here's the overall MOEs. So you can see the 4 hours. We have a travel times. Here we have the freeway level of service. So this is and all of these are just the linked data from, you can see they're linked. And if you keep everything in the same place relative to, so I just copied this into to this directory. So as long as everything beneath it stays the same relative to where it is, where the file is, it should open up when you reopen them. So that is the process of doing the 4-hour matrix, or 4-hour MOEs. It just builds off the same things as the 1-hour MOE.